Isn't it interesting how often different religions and prophet always speak about how powerful their God is or their version of God is, but no one is actually speaking about how loving their God is. Greetings, everyone. We're Trace Scorch, and we'll come again with updates from the future. If you haven't seen the previous podcast or transmission, you should. We're gonna give a little review and then just go right into it. We're gonna make this real quick because there are a few information that just came afoot, including the dream we had yesterday. And we're gonna elaborate many of all these ideas and concepts in a way that you can understand. We find it interesting how often when different religion want to depict their version of what they call God, they're always about how powerful this God is, how great this God is. But if you have to measure what you call God by how loving God is, you realize that even the concept of forgiveness means that your God holds a grudge to begin with. If you have to measure God by how loving God is, you realize that many of all these systems and all these ideas kind of limit that love. It kind of creates this trauma, this traumatic response in how people view what the version of a God is. And it's actually been embedded in society. A lot of people that love is actually seen as something that is frail, vulnerable, fragile, something that is disposable, something that you do not have to show because it's going to reveal some form of weakness. And people are all very comfortable experiencing love from a pet or from a loved one or from a family. But when it comes to divine love, it's something that people are often triggered by because they feel that this divine love is going to judge them for all their actions, not understanding that divine love is an encompassing feeling. It is magnificent. It doesn't judge. It doesn't ridicule. It's not regressive. It kind of fills you up. From our personal experience, it's something that once you actually feel the taste of God's love, it transforms your entire orientation, your mind, even your biology, your cells transform as a result. So this is something that we need to actually focus on. Because when you look at many religious concepts about how powerful their God is, it creates this friction. That's why you notice that there are two religions who actually consider themselves as the best religion and everything else is garbage. And they are the ones fighting war against themselves. Isn't it interesting? That the two religions that call other form of religion toxic and garbage are the ones fighting each other. The same two religion that wants to promote itself around the whole world and make sure that everyone must be a part of their religion. They are the ones against other religion. And funny enough, they are the ones fighting war. Isn't that interesting? There isn't a competition about which religion is so much loved, even from their doctrines and their historic hieroglyphics about how their prophet was so loving, he did this and he did that. No, often what you find is how toxic this prophet is or this version or this messenger is, and how they did this and they did this and they conquered this and they conquered that, but know how compassionate they were, how forgiving they were, how understanding they were. You never find to see all those concepts in all these forms of religion that is in competition against their own self. And this stereotype, this archetype is what people have they use as a measuring tape of what they call God without actually discovering God first, you see. Often people just go about with what's popular, not what they research on. And become a habit that even when there's certain dysfunctional things in society, no one is thinking about a solution because the solution is not popular. In fact, what is popular is to be down and in with the dysfunction. That's why you notice that society we have this cultural pressure to be dysfunctional. If you turn out to be a very loving, sensitive person, if you're a man, they call that gay. If you're too loving, people say they're going to see it as a weakness because your culture is so your society is cleverly designed to bring out the worst in people and also the best in people as a result of your choices or your experience. But you don't have any incentive for good behavior, but there is a punishment for bad behavior. So there's barely any reason to be good. You see, it's even to a point where something is so good you call it bad, as sarcasm. So society is so dysfunctional to the point that we're changing the words and labels of things from it being angelic and beautiful to it being tawdry and dysfunctional. Hmm? And these are the things that the concept that we have to look into because what we believe is that for every dysfunctional action, there is this opportunity inside for alchemy, for transformation. Currently, you're in a society whereby many things are expensive. There's this inflation and all of this, but also we see that that's opportunity for expansion. In places around the world now, we see eggs are expensive, but most people are not thinking about just buying a bunch of chicken and start rearing chickens to lay egg, because the chickens just provide this egg free of charge. Because people are so embedded in this society whereby you have to go to the mall in order to get things, when things get so expensive, no one is thinking about starting a farm. It's been months now, about 5 months now. People have been complaining about the high prices of things. But if you think about it, people come as a society together and create a farm and start rearing chickens and start planting tomatoes. If they started in January, by now they'll have reaped over 2 months of harvest, isn't it? So often when we see situations, we should start thinking about solutions instead of like always complaining, having this habit of complaining. Instead of seeing something as perhaps it's an opportunity or a catalyst to transform the way we do things, people want to complain and make things the same way as though the way it's been is the best. We had a dream yesterday, and it wasn't until a few hours ago before we were able to understand it. We had a dream where there was this drone flying around different parts in Nigeria, and it had this other attachment this drone that comes to it to charge it in the air, and it had some kind of kite basket around it, I guess for air pressure so the wind don't blow it away. And it comes to charge these certain drones. It was everywhere in Nigeria. Charge the certain drones and go back. And later we realized that it's actually Wi-Fi. With the high price of Wi-Fi in Nigeria now, it's simple if we could just come together, perhaps get some of all these Starlinks wireless and have different drones flying in different locations to broadcast Wi-Fi signals to people within that region. And if we can make it free, then you realize that many of all these communication company, will have to drop their prices down because no one is using their network anymore. Because they're taking advantage of the situation in Nigeria and they're increasing prices. And people will complain about having using 10 gigabytes in a few hours. That's preposterous. So the best solution, this already happened. Perhaps we're going to look into doing it, but we're observing this thing for a long time. The drones perhaps once stand in a different location, and they have another drone that flies over to that location to charge it, and then it goes back. And it was always just stationary. So you have a Starlink network that is broadcasting to different Wi-Fi routers. The Wi-Fi routers will be attached to these drones, and this drone will just be stationed in different parts of the country, broadcasting free Wi-Fi. We can look into this and be more creative about the situation that we find ourselves in instead of always complaining and expecting a dysfunctional government to be somehow functional when it's actually by design. These are seven concepts that we should start considering. And in regards to our previous post about the expansion of human consciousness and how that affects our biology, many people don't realize that your body is not designed to age. You can live a very long time by just applying the certain disciplines to your biology. So now think about it. If you're able to live longer, as long as 300 years, 400 years, you realize that the way you look at reality is going to transform as a result. And this is actually a factual thing because in the near future, this is inevitable. We'll have a point where we have all this technology doing everything for us, and the only thing that will be of real value is your creativity and original ideas and how advanced your biology has become. There are a lot of people who are going to opt into using AI, drones, and all these hybrids attachment to their body, enhancing their biology for certain reason, perhaps using something like Neuralinks. And there are those who are going to channel in their innate intuition and expand their consciousness to the point where certain people start expressing this divine attribute of glowing from your biofield, like we explained about humans glowing. We have certain things called the plasma. We haven't started tapping into the fourth state of matter. And the biology is electromagnetic. We're designed to actually glow from our biofields. When you're heightened, your consciousness is heightened to a point where you're excited in ecstasy, and you realize that all of a sudden you're golden. I will speak from experience. So it's going to get to a point where people won't have to be living in this survival mode anymore. They'll have time to discover more about their biology and the science of their anatomy. And you can start now because it's a gradual process. Because a lot of people are not welcome into the divine aspect of love. You're already just comfortable with the love from a pet. But if you're going to be embraced by what you call God and experience the fulcrum of divine quantum love, it is going to transform you and in a point where you're not going to be the same person. It is really going to transform you to the point where there are certain people and certain places you wouldn't want to find yourself in anymore. And it makes you start thinking differently, start getting different ideas, get intuition and dreams, and magnificent things start happening. And that's going to be the focus of humanity moving forward. Like we mentioned, one of our songs, multidimensionality is the new spangled banner for humanity. It's time where we start living life consciously and recruit iridescent maturity. This is the time for all of this. And funny enough is that things are going to look like it's getting very dysfunctional for all these ideas to come about. And you need to start looking that direction to be among the pioneers of this new future that we're building together. And some of all these ideas, you can start pinpointing it and see how it's going to benefit you currently. If you're going through the toxic things or any hardship or trauma, realize that you have the power to go within and then discover that divine love because they're available for everyone. And yeah, perhaps we'll return with more information. There's certain things that we wanted to share, but I guess we'll put that on the next discuss. We love you all. Namaste.